Chapter 14. The cold pressed down on George until it seemed to crush his bones. He huddled close to Marco, trying to keep them both warm. Marco barely moved. Some of the men sang softly, and others prayed. Some made no sounds at all. Hours went by. The sea became rougher, and every few minutes a wave splashed into the boat. George was drifting off to sleep when one of the men shouted, "It's a ship!" And sure enough, a bright light was heading towards them. "No," another man said, "it's just lightning." But the light was getting bigger and brighter. George stared at the light, afraid that if he even blinked it would disappear, but soon he could see the outline of a gigantic ship steaming toward them. He whispered to Marco, who barely fluttered his eyes. He pulled his friend closer, rubbing his arms. "It won't be long," he whispered. "Hang on." As the sky brightened, George gaped at the scene around him. It was as if they'd fallen through a hole in the ocean and come out of the other side of the earth. There were icebergs all around them, hundreds of them, as far as George could see. They sparkled in the golden pink light. They were so beautiful, but looking at them sent a chill up George's spine. As the ship got closer, George could see that it was a passenger steamer, like the Titanic. Closer and closer it came until George could read its name, Carpathia. There were people crowded on the deck looking over the rail. They were yelling and shouting and waving, but one voice rose above them all like a siren. "Papa! Papa! Giorgio!" Marco's eyes fluttered, and he smiled a little. "Enzo," he whispered. George could see the little boy waving frantically from Aunt Daisy's arms. Phoebe stood next to them waving with the sunlight glinting off her spectacles. "They're safe, Marco," George said. "They made it." George grabbed Marco's hand, and so did we.